Are you serious?
Hi out there,
Okay.
it's Jonathan Bangle, and I'm having an impromptu episode right now with Naked Text Talk where we bear down to the naked truth about who we are in our personal lives, our business lives, and of course, our monetary lives. And you know what? I get asked all the time, Jonathan, why do you have to show up naked on your show? Well, here's the truth, babies. We're all born naked, just like RuPaul says. The difference is the rest of it is just drag. Plus, being naked is all about cultivating courage. And I want to make sure that
Mhm.
I stand out as one courageous dude. So I am joined here actually with Grace Chang, and she's joining me from Hawaii, the big island, which I'm super excited
Yay.
about. And you guys should just know that we've been having a chit chat conversation now for like ever. And I decided that I'm going to answer one of her, actually, I'm going to share with her a secret about how you can hire your own full time employee. And these are the things that you need to consider when you hire your next employee. So this is how somebody who barely makes about 100,000 in gross revenue and they hire a full-time staff to do the job for you, right? Or to at least do some of it, right? So this is what
Mhm.
you have to consider. Wages is what we all need to live off of. So I need to know what's the basic necessity you need to live to make a living, right? I can meet that obligation. Let's be real, we can meet that. But there's something else that we can have that isn't always cash,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So, what are some other things you can think of, Grace, right now that doesn't always equate to cash?
Holy cow, there's so much, right? Peace,
Peace,
peace of mind,
peace of mind,
harmony
harmony.
in terms of relationships. Health is not something you can put a price tag on, right? And happiness, you and I were just talking about happiness. Yeah. The number
Mm-hmm.
one ultimate wish for everyone is really, let's just end suffering and let's create some happiness here. And so those are just a few things, my goodness. And um, sunshine, how can you put a price tag on that? That's
You,
life giver.
well, you know how you put time on that? The sun technically has how many hours in it?
Mm.
24
The
hours, right?
sun. Well, yes, but then half of that is in the dark, right? So basically, the sun hours. That's about it. And then
That's
what
all we
about
got.
air?
That's it. So we got sun
Air.
hours, right? So
Hmm.
if you're an employee, also know this too, right? An employee is defined as somebody I control. It's the ultimate
Mm.
BDSM scenario, right? Like I'm the master and you're the slave,
Hmm.
right?
So
And
true.
so that's the perfect BDSM. I have to control you 100%. I tell you when to come to work. I tell you how many hours you're going to
Hmm.
work. I tell you how much you're going to get paid. I tell you, right? I provide the materials. I tell you how to get the job done, right? I am your master, right?
Mm.
But money is one way in which I can incentivize you. There's another secret. It's called time.
Mm.
Time. Paid time. Paid
Daytime.
time,
Yes.
right? So what I do is you can look at your own business structure and go, okay, well, what are the major holidays I like to take? Right. So me being an educator from my background, right, as being a teacher, we always got 2 weeks off for winter break. So JB Financial lets us have 2 weeks off. And it's paid. Both my director and myself get paid time off for 2 weeks, right? Because I never understood, why do you come into work for 3 days and then you go on Christmas break? That makes no sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Give your employee time, paid time, so they don't have to worry, so they don't have to be stressed out, so they can just be
Yes.
happy, right?
Be happy.
Time. There's something else I
Hmm.
can give them. I can give them what we call fringe benefits, right? Because see, it's illegal for me to say to spend money on personal matters in your business. That's an illegal move.
Hmm. Hmm.
But if I spend money in my business that yields a personal benefit as a side benefit, we
Hmm.
call that a fringe benefit. And when it's done correctly,
Yes.
we don't end up like certain people are going to be ending up here pretty soon, right? So when it's done right,
Hmm.
we're perfect. So here's a fringe benefit. I said to Paige, I'm a traveling dude. That's one thing I love to do. I'm traveling all the time for conferences and tax conferences and sales, right? I'm constantly traveling. And do you know who I need at my side the whole time?
Mm.
I need her, right? So I'll tell you what, you're still going to get your vacation, but you're also going to come with me and we're going to learn and we're going to empower, we're going to educate,
Yay.
right? And I'm going to give you a couple of days to your lonesome self, right? You want to spend a couple of days away from me, that's fine. But luckily we get along. So we like to go to a lot of employee building projects, right? Or employee building things, like, for example, team building, right? Because you and I
Love
both
that.
know that when everyone is harmonious together,
Yes.
they produce profit.
Yes.
They produce money, abundance, receiving, right? They produce it. So instead of us thinking, oh man, I can't pay somebody $15 an hour, how else can I benefit them?
Yes. How else? Exactly. How else?
I could do things like pay for her insurance. That's what we do. JB Financial pays for both of our group insurance. Here's one you'll like, Grace, since this is something you work in, right? JB can go, I'll tell you what, I value Paige and Jonathan's life so much that I can take out 2 types of life insurance, right? I can take out group life insurance.
There you go.
And I can take out key man life insurance, right? Depending on the entity structure. Just throw that out there. But I digress.
Yeah.
So there's other ways in which we can offer a benefit to our employee. Some of it is going to be taxable. The majority of it will be non-taxable, so long as we have the right documents in place. And this is what I teach in Rapid Tax Savings Formula. What are the documents we have to have so we don't end up in prison like someone's about to be?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Lots of nuggets and gems for sure.
Yes. Grace, before we go though, I can't just leave you hanging here. What is it that you do? Remind us what is it that you do?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for this impromptu session with Nate. Tax Talks. Naked Tax Talks. Love it that you actually. So what I do is I basically show people where the elevator button is in terms of permanent health and permanent wealth solutions. And like you and I were talking about, it's using life insurance as a chassis to build that third bucket, which is the non-taxable bucket that most of us are not taught. Yeah. And
it's
enjoy
non-taxable,
empowering folks just like you.
And it's non-taxable today. It's non-taxable tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. Unless
non-taxable
today. But it's non-taxable.
And tomorrow.
It's non-taxable today and it's non-taxable tomorrow. Thank you. And what I meant to say, the reason why is because typically in life insurance vehicles, we are not allowed to deduct the premiums from our taxes, which makes perfect sense, right? Give and take. My aunt the other day, I have an aunt, her name is Auntie Connie, and she said the other day, we're walking on the beach on Galveston Island while I was there shooting for my commercial for Rapid Tax. And she reminded me of a very important saying, and that is, there's a time for everything, right? And so he's saying, I'll tell you what, you pay to protect your life, right? Go to Grace and protect your life, right? There's a time to do that. Now is the time, because later on in life, you're going to need it. And that will be the time that you need it. And so because I'm not going to deduct the premiums from my income tax, Uncle Sam says, I'll tell you what, it's non-taxable because I didn't tax you. I didn't let you deduct your taxes from it. That's why a Roth IRA, for example, is tax-free when you pull the money out. Because it's the same reason. You're not allowed to reduce your taxable income by your Roth contributions. That's why it's tax-free.
Yeah, and you and I both know there are tax codes that protect life insurance too, right? That allows you to withdraw it so many different ways that is non-taxable as well. And so love teaching people how to leverage those as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's one technique that you would share with entrepreneurs out there or other tax professionals that may be watching this episode? What's one strategy or technique that you would want to share with them regarding this?
Simple thing in terms of how the wealthy think about money, right? It's circular in a sense of never interrupting compounding. And so by building that, And that's why you mentioned earlier, start now because you have time. Time is one of those precious gifts that we can give to compounding because that's the wonder of the world. So when you understand how to leverage these policies to create that and then use other people's money to do the things that you want to do in terms of capital expenditure, it's the smarter way of doing this with money.
It's so funny you mentioned the
Yeah.
circle. My magic books aren't here, but for those people who watch the show, they know about my magic books. And so I have these journals that I call magic books, and I doodle in there and I write things and stuff. And I remember I was thinking about the accounting formula, right? Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. By the way, I go over this in details, but I digress. So what I figured out though, right, is that in accounting, we learn that it's a cycle, right? Business cycle. Yes. We learn that it's circular. And that's why, like exactly what we're talking about, it is all circular. So when something is in that circle that gets knocked out of place, it can't complete a full complete circle. It's like a spiral, right? It gets knocked out a little bit. So we got to bring it back into its orientation and balance it so that we can continue to live an abundant life.
Absolutely. It's about, it's all about abundance, isn't it, Jonathan? Absolutely.
It is.
So circulating that wealth, it is a circle. It is not a straight line.
Yes, it's not. It is constantly ever evolving like this. And in fact, so I brought the Roth. So I just got my statement from my financial advisor. And I was like, dang, I got to contribute. I got to get contributing back again on that horse and start maxing out my Roth. I want to max out my SEP, which here are the rules, by the way. My SEP's self-employed pension plan says that you cannot contribute more than, I think it's 56,000, I believe. I got to double check the numbers. But I definitely know, or the lesser of 25% of the net income if you're a Schedule C filer, or 25% of the wages if you pay yourself as an employee under the S or C Corp structure. So because of that, now I'm going, oh yeah, I got extra cash. You see, when we create profit, right? When we create profit, we have choices we can make. We can just spend it on frivolous shit, right? And when you're old enough like we are, we have the nice things we want in our lives. And so we're not so concerned about having a new microphone. We're more concerned about tomorrow. And so all of a sudden we can go like, okay, well, let me utilize my profits in my business and shift it to my retirement, right?
There you go.
That's what it's about.
And a non-taxable one. And a non-taxable one. That's really the key.
That's exactly it. Like what I love about insurance. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And a much higher contribution levels that, in terms of what you're mentioning, because it's based on how big of a policy you open. So you have full control, like you're talking about, right? In terms of being the master of that. So that's the other piece that I love, where you can then open the kind of envelope that you need based on your goals and your needs.
Yeah, I love it. I was gonna say what I like about certain life insurance policies is, right, the ability to overfund it on purpose, right, to maximize its cash surrender value in a shorter period of time, so that way we can essentially borrow against it, right? And total legal move, sounds too good to be true, but it allows us to borrow against it as a completely protected asset, which then we may or may not pay it back. But as long as you have the insurance policy big enough to support that loan and still the death benefits on top of that, not a bad gig.
It's actually the perfect gig. As I'm finding out, it's the perfect gig. It's probably the best secret that most of us are not educated on. And that's why I'm passionate about teaching folks how to use that. Because that is the game of the wealthy. If you ask a wealthy person, that is their foundation of building wealth. It's massive life insurance policies that they do this with.
Absolutely. I will often say, like, there's a certain time, again, in which we might move a client right into a life insurance policy. That's like this model. And if you think about the robustness, like our health, like that's one of the things you do, right? You told me earlier you worked and you are working in the health industry, right?
Yes.
And so we understand that if we focus on just building up chest muscles and no leg muscles, right, we're going to be out of balance, right? But if we focus on all the other, just like in business, right, we focus on all these other things. So yes, life insurance, maximizing the Roths, maximizing traditionals, maximizing the SEPs, the 401ks, the 403bs, if you're, depending again on structures. It's really about putting them in multiple pots at the end of the day. Life insurance has a special place though, because life insurance is extremely protected. It's even protected against bankruptcy proceedings.
Yes. And litigation, and it won't show up in people's FAFSA if you're using it to fund education and kinds of stuff like that.
Isn't it crazy? Like when you think about this for just a second, isn't it just like just mind blowing? Like it's just mind blowing, right? When you think, and then you want to get real crazy, Grace. You want to get real crazy for my uber duper wealthy clients. A technique that we'll use is we'll actually have them create their own life insurance companies. Think about that for a second.
That is pretty mind-blowing. I mean, I know about premium financing where they don't even use their own money, right, to max fund these policies, right? And they bring a lender in and then be able to create these things within 5, 7, or 10 years versus a longer period of time, and create a much bigger envelope. And so with this cash cow then is the foundation of building other forms of wealth in terms of diversification.
Tell us a little bit about why do you work with, why is life insurance, or why is this new component important in your life?
Well, if you think about what's in our face right now, COVID, and brought to my mind in terms of what really matters. My God, my life matters, my health matters, my family matters. How am I going to protect those irreplaceable components in my life? And then the other piece is, the income replacement piece, right? We haven't even touched on the living benefits piece, which is essentially that piece that we're talking about, that income insurance, because we literally do not have safety nets in this country, where the number one cause for people losing homes and wiping out entire savings is when we get sick. And so it brings to me as a, coming from the healthcare arena, seeing so many of these cases where people have to go through that suffering, that pain in terms of those kinds of losses, and be financially devastated because you got sick. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is a reality in our country today, right? And so we literally have to take that step to protect ourselves so that we can protect assets like you were mentioning. If you're talking about your primary residence, that's a big deal. That's somebody's biggest investment sometimes, in their life. And to be able to continue in terms of whatever plans you may have financially for kids, for yourself, for all the other obligations that folks have. So that's why I'm passionate about it. It's educating, just like you, the consummate teacher.
Fellow teacher extraordinaire right here, right now. Grace, is there a website that we can go to meet you, to get to know more about you, or a phone number, email address? So, what's your digits?
So my digits are super, super simple. It's my Linktree. So go to Linktree, and it's Grace, Grace, May, Mey, Yen, Yenfoo. That's my maiden name, and I wanted to keep that. And that's it. So Gracemeiyenfoo. I am on LinkedIn as Grace Chang, Living Life Solutions Consultant. Thank you, Jonathan, for. Are you typing all that in right now?
I am. You're going to send it to me in the show notes. And then, because just for the record, this is not a live show. I forgot to mention that. This is pre-recorded, because I was like, I just have to create an episode for you guys right now.
Like have to. Thank you.
So what you'll do is, if you want to just send me that information, and then the show notes, I will have all your digits available for you. So that's how you guys are going to get our information. I'm going to put that all on the show notes for you guys, so you guys can get access to all this. Because here's the interesting thing, Grace. I don't know. All I can tell you is that there's something really cool about you that I'm sitting here going, I kind of want to learn more even from you. And I think I'm a pretty smart dude. And I'm like, I want to know more about what you have to offer, and, how we can, in fact, change the world together. Because in many ways, I'll never forget. In fact, I posted this on a Facebook post on my personal wall a few days ago. And I came across a journal entry that I wrote, I think it was October 31st, 1997. And it's me writing to myself. This is how I've always been. And I'm basically saying, I only got a 3.89 GPA, right? How disgusted and afraid I am that I'm going to lose my class rank. Like, I have to be like out of the 5 out of the 10. Like, I have to be, right? Like, I had to be. And what I realized that stemmed from was a statement that my sixth grade teacher told me, as my science teacher. And she knew my background. Sometimes she'd take me home because I would actually take the city bus like 2.5 miles to go to school. And
Mhm.
I remember one day she was dropping me off and she had said, Jonathan, do you know what the key to ending your poverty is? And I said, no. And she said, the key is education because it unlocks opportunities. And
It
interestingly
does.
enough, it's a true
Yeah.
statement, isn't it? Because if we're
Mhm.
educated, no one can take that away from us. No one can rob us of that. That makes us powerful.
Yeah, that does. And it's how we can empower other folks in terms of, collaborating to give people the leg up, right? Why not? Why not?
Absolutely. Because what I know to be true is that when we create a space for ourselves where let's just focus on happiness, right? And we just create the space where I'm happy. Well, that's great. But it's not very fun if you're the only one. So instead, you have to help
Exactly.
others, right?
Yeah.
I remember being
Mhm.
in this meditation, as Buddhist meditation, and we were talking about, it's a prayer actually that we say all the time, which is, help me, we say to Buddha, right? Like, help
Mm.
me to achieve enlightenment, right? So that I may help my suffering mothers, right? My mothers who suffer the same way.
Mhm.
Help me to come
Mhm.
back to bring them up to the same level, because it is about raising all of our, you said earlier, all of our collective energy and self and businesses. We raise it
It
up
is.
together as a team, then it's a better place for all of us to live.
And understanding that we're all interconnected, each
Yes.
soul gifts, like we were talking about earlier, right, is that unique, irreplaceable, priceless gift that we each get to bring. And how awesome when the world can be a place where we all get to express and live that fully and completely because we all got to do that.
Yes.
It's
And
a better
yes.
place. Yeah.
Yes. It's the collective
Yeah.
karma, right? It's the
Mhm.
collective togetherness,
It is.
independent and yet dependent
Yes.
at the same time. Ooh, that's a mind
That's
warp
the
for
fun of
you
it.
right now.
Yeah, that's the
I'll let you
fun
know.
of it. That's the fun of it.
Well, listen, this was a short episode, and I just want to say thank you so much for being here impromptu with me and having this great conversation
Love
with
it.
me. So thank you. And I want to remind you and my viewers out there why we became entrepreneurs. It's for all of that mucho, 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 mucho dinero. I'm Jonathan Bangle here, host of
Freedom.
Naked Tax Talk. Yes, and freedom. And I want to let you guys know that I don't know what the next episode is going to bring. It could be impromptu or our scheduled time, which is usually on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, I'm Jonathan Bangle. Listen, if you want to know more about Rapid Tax Savings Formula, go to rapidtaxsavingsformula.com and apply for a scholarship. There's $600 waiting for you to apply so that you can attend the next and the last live teaching of this fantastic course. Starts September the 1st from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, always remember why you went into business. It was to make mucho, mucho, mucho